Fellow nerds, we are talking Doom Patrol, the second part of season 4. We got 3 episodes left, but we're 3 episodes deep, and we're going to take a little dive into it because if you're like us, well, 2 of us, you've really enjoyed, well, if you're like us, you've enjoyed Doom Patrol. And if you're like 2 of us, you've enjoyed the second half of season 4 so far. But, I mean, this show is like nothing else, and it's exactly how the comic book is. You know, we were talking, Dave and I, a minute ago about how, you know, the Grant Morrison run on Doom Patrol was some of the weirdest comics I've ever read. And I didn't appreciate them the first time I read them, and then I kind of came back to them later, and I was like, okay, this is really good stuff. And this show has taken on that weirdness and not backed down in any way.
Sorry, I was looking to make sure that Grant Morrison didn't write my Punisher book.
Okay. Grant Morrison has written any Punisher books.
Because Punisher Max is pretty extreme as well.
Mm-hmm.
You probably read it. But yeah, they get kind of graphic in there. Nope, I guess it's not. But yeah, it's the goofiness and the graphicness and the not caring about the mainstream that makes the show so excellent. And if you don't get it, I understand if you don't get it.
Oh yeah,
but
totally.
The people that do get it are really gonna get it.
So I'll go ahead and since we're now into to talking about Doom Patrol, I love that image. That's great with the oven mitt. That's hilarious. That's such a fun little quirk. So I'll repeat this again because I think this more or less sums up Doom Patrol. If you have not seen any of it, if you haven't seen any Doom Patrol, I am going to spoil some elements of it real quick because unfortunately I realized this this weekend that it doesn't have a great viewership as far as numbers go. If I remember right, didn't it originally air right around or during the pandemic?
Season 2 was cut short by the pandemic.
Okay.
But this was a show that started out on DC Universe's streaming service.
That's right. That's right. Oh boy, the olden days back before back before it merged with HBO. It was HBO Now, then it turned into HBO Max, and now it's Max. Oh boy. So many unnecessary changes. But yeah, I remember when you 2 gentlemen were first telling me about Doom Patrol, I was like I was aware of the premise. Like I had known of the team through watching Teen Titans. And every now and again they'd show up, and Beast Boy would mention them. He'd mention, when he was, when I was doing a mission with the Doom Patrol, when I was part of Doom Patrol. We fought this guy with Doom Patrol, and everything like that. So like I was only just vaguely aware of them. And one of the things that a lot of these companies, DC, Marvel, all of them, a lot of them, what they have to do is they have to sanitize a lot of their comic book stuff to make it watchable for your average audience. And that's a lot of what they did. Whenever they mentioned the Doom Patrol in, the Teen Titans, they were more serious. They were treated like any other superhero team. But not this series, not the Doom Patrol main series. No, it is all out. It is as goofy as it wants to be. It is as weird as it wants to be. It does stuff that you will never, ever see in any other mainstream comic book TV show. Like it is so out there because it's like physics don't matter to most of no normal reality does not matter to the Doom Patrol. They just do whatever they want. They tell whatever story they want, and they don't care about whether it makes any sense or not. And that's kind of the charm about it. That's where it's just, you can tell that they're having fun with it when they're writing these episodes. They're like, hey, what are we doing today? Oh, we're going to have like a Ghostbusters parody, but it's going to be about sex. Sure, why not? that makes sense. Yeah. Also, this is going to take place in the living street, the sentient living street. Sure. Yeah, that makes just as much sense. Yeah. So, also part of this cast, we've got a guy's brain inside the body of a robot. We've got sort of a living ghost man who's wrapped up in bandages. Trust me, it doesn't make sense. It's cool. Just go with it. And it's charming in that way where they let anything happen. But the reason why I don't know if this season has done it for me personally that much. So when we first started watching the first half, it took me a minute to remember what had even happened. I definitely needed to watch the recap because I'm like, wait, what is happening? What is going on? And
Zombies.
yeah, and so like when that happened, I'm like, oh, huh, ass zombies. All right, I remember seeing that in the trailer, and I was just like, yeah, that's Doom Patrol, but I had overheard you guys mentioning, when I had stepped away a moment ago, I had overheard you guys saying like, you're talking about the great actors, and there's so many. Alan Tudyk, great actor. Just like
who plays Cyborg
Brendan Fraser, excellent actor, and
Yes.
they picked them because they are not only just good actors, but they're also good voice actors too. And I've mentioned that in some of our other stuff that a lot of times, not just a famous name, but somebody who can do a good voice. And we already know that Alan Tudyk can. He plays, in a bunch of different roles. Like wasn't he an iRobot? I think
iRobot or Mr. Robot?
I think he was iRobot. I think he was the Sonny the robot.
He does a lot of voices on Rick and Morty.
He does do a lot of voices in Rick and Morty. But yeah, I mean it's been a fun show, but pun intended. with this season, I don't know if I've picked up on it before. Maybe it's been there and I didn't notice it, but it seems almost like to me that they recognize that their audience is primarily going to be either, or maybe at the same time, hardcore comic book readers and 14-year-old boys. Because, like, I'll take the occasional, butt joke and poop joke and fart joke, and it's like, oh, okay, that was kind of funny. And they said they said the F word, but Robot Man, the way he was like, just the way he's going off, it seems over the top in this season. F this, F that, you effing effers. I'm gonna F you in the effing F. And it's just like it was funny the first couple of times, but then it was just like the word is it's meaningless. Like it loses its sting to me. Where it's just like, okay, that's a bit much. And normally I'm not like that. I'm definitely not oh, you shouldn't cuss, but this seemed too much.
Well, it just shows that it wasn't a quirk. It's just his overall character. That's what he's always been. That's what he always will be.
And that's what I'm saying. Maybe I didn't notice that before.
I think dealing with Parkinson's and stuff has kind of amped it up a little bit. Like he's worried about, his daughter. He has zero relationship with her, and the grandson.
And his grandson, yeah.
I think they've done a good job of having everybody have these crises going on, at kind of at the same time as this major thing going on. You got Cliff, who's dealing with, he can finally get some sensation in his hand, and he doesn't want to touch anything. He wants the first thing to be as his grandson. So he's got that silly mitt on, and it's talking to him, and obviously he's got some mental issues. And then you got Jane, can no longer kind of talk to the underground, and no one knows where Kay is, so she's dealing with that. Mr. Negative, is that what his name is? Maybe. But Keeg is kind of going out away from him and kind of running away, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he's dealing with, his overall family thing. And then you got Dorothy dealing with the loss of her father. And it's just, they have all these kind of touching moments they kind of share, like when Dorothy was trying to get Cliff to use the wheelchair because she knows he's having trouble getting upstairs and stuff. I thought that interaction between them two was really well done. He was immediately pissed that she would even think of that. It was like swearing at her and everything. And then he kind of finally came to the realization, like, yeah,
I'm going to need that.
Yeah. I'm probably going to need that. And
well, speaking of touching moments, I will say one of my favorite moments in this season so far was with Cyborg and his brother. Is that who that was?
No, it's just
That's
one of his
best friend.
friends.
One of his friends. Okay, I wasn't entirely sure. My consciousness is kind of going in and out with the season, so I do apologize. I didn't fully grasp like who that was that he was with, but it was nice that they weren't getting along at first, and it took a couple of hard truths. But I loved them fighting together in what is it, Scissor World? I don't know what the hell to call that.
It was Oakwith or something like that.
Sure, Scissor World.
And Michelle, I think Michelle Gomez is doing an excellent job. I can't remember her character name either, but she's the one who came back from the past. She's best friends with Rita. What's her name? The
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's excellent in a way that when she first came back, like I'm thinking villain, and now she's sincerely with no
Ulterior
ulterior
motives.
motive, yeah, trying to make it up to Rita. And you don't usually in a show when you watch it like that, there's an ulterior motive in the background, and she's actually going to go back the way she was. I don't think she's definitely not going to do that here. She's definitely going to remain and try and make it up to her, and that's a cool quirk, because then I've been watching too many shows with with a twist at the end, where the person that you think is good is actually bad. I don't think they're going to do that here. I think that's another thing they're doing with this show that's unique. Like, she's going to stay. There's going to be no twist. She's going to help out as much as she can.
There was a nice little moment too. Speaking of the guy playing Cyborg, who Dave said I've never heard of him before the show, and he is doing a great job. When they were sitting at a Mortimus Day, or not a Mortimus Day, but the parade for saving Isabel, and she's like, "Well, you're Cyborg. You're meant for much bigger things than the Doom Patrol." It was a nice little reference that, he goes on to be in the Justice League and all these things, but he kind of had these humble beginnings with that. And I kind of liked that moment. I thought they played it off really well. They didn't try to ham it up or anything. He was kind of like, "Oh, whatever, that's not quite true." But she was very sincere in saying, "You're destined for great things. The rest of us, not so much. We're kind of a goofball, sort of ragtag, I don't want to call them losers, but they're basically sort
They
of..."
kind of are, though, because they all have really depressing issues that they have to try their best to overcome. I mean, if you just read on paper everything that's going on with these characters, that would get anybody to be like, "Oh my God, this show sounds amazing," just listening to the description of these characters. You've got a former race car driver that was in a horrific accident, and now only his brain is in the body of a robot. You've got a famous pilot who can't maintain, a physical form on Earth. You've got a famous actress that she can barely maintain her normal form, otherwise she turns into a blob, and she has to eat constantly to maintain her what do you call it?
Her form.
Human form?
No, not that. What does the Flash have to eat for?
Metabolism.
Metabolism. Thank you. She has to constantly eat to keep her metabolism going in order to maintain her form. So it's just these characters alone. It's that would grab anybody. Just oh my gosh, wow. That they're losers, but not in a mean way. I wouldn't call them a loser and you're a loser. They've all lost something.
They've had
They're
bad
all
luck.
Guardians of the Galaxy type losers.
Yeah, exactly.
What's funny? I can name every one of the actors, but I can't name all the characters. Matt Bomer, like you just mentioned, I could not tell you his character name, because when I see him on the screen, that's what I think. I think, "Oh, that's Matt, Brendan Fraser, Matt Bomer."
I think it's
It would be
Mr.
funny if they
Negative.
just started calling themselves that, and you would just accept it because, yeah, of course, Doom Patrol would do that.
Of course, yeah. And the only
Hey,
one
Brendan,
I don't
what's
know,
going on? Hey, Matt.
the only one I don't know is the one I can name, Cyborg. I don't know his real name. Is it Travion or something like that?
Joivan Wade or something like that.
Davian Wade. Yep,
Wade.
that's right. Now I know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I.
Yes.
Joe.
You couldn't resist.
But I mean, overall, I'm hoping, obviously we have 3 episodes left. I hope they have a good send off for these characters. I I always worry about shows nailing the landing when it's over.
Yeah.
And this show is so goofy. I hope it doesn't get too sappy or anything, but I hope, these characters have a good point and some positivity, but still, silly, because the whole singing, there's been 2 Star Trek Strange New Worlds and now Doom Patrol have both had musical episodes. And I Star Trek Strange New World one, I was like, okay, they have a flimsy scientific reason why this is going on. And it was still kind of fun a little bit. But I thought this one was great. I was like, because Isabel is Immortus now and she has a, singing theater sort of mentality. She's, been in a lot of theater and stuff. They're all singing. They're all like, wait, why am I singing? And especially like they're starting to get some of their memories back. And I just thought it was played off so well. I was laughing through a lot of it. I was like, this is so good. And I did not want them to break out as quickly as they did. I wanted more musical numbers, damn it. And I don't think I've ever said that before.
Now, were you two already familiar with the DC iteration of Immortus?
No.
Neither was I. I had to go back and try and see, because like when she showed up and started like doing her scream that's reminiscent of what's her name from Birds of Prey?
Yeah, Black Canary.
Yeah, Black Canary, just doing like the canary scream. And I'm just like, oh, is that a thing? Like that I've just never heard of? All right. And I'm like, no. I looked up, it's like an older white dude who's a pretty common villain of the Doom Patrol. I'm like, okay, Doom Patrol, just doom it up, I guess.
Well, there was a villain on Smallville, if anybody's got a button that we're not going to get copyrighted for.
It's only me. Keith doesn't get strict for that.
Is in season 9 of Smallville, where they all went to a secret bed and breakfast, and out in the woods was a banshee that could kill them by screaming it, just the same way. And that's what I thought when I saw the scream. I thought, oh, banshee, as in villain.
Well, see, I was thinking Banshee from the X-Men, Sean Cassidy, who had a sonic scream like that.
Well, I was thinking, since we're talking about banshees, actually,
the Banshees?
I was thinking of Banshee from Extreme Ghostbusters, who was actually the sister of Siren, and they were a duo where Siren would lure people in and Banshee would scream and suck the souls out of their bodies. For kids.
That's a nice kid show.
It's a family show.
Well, that's just downright selfish.
Oh, she was a very abusive sister too. Banshee was always yelling at her nice sister, like, now sing, lure them to me. No, but sister, I don't want to do it. Don't make me.
Don't kill Dr. Strange, Black Bolt.
One of the things I did like about this 3 episodes we've gotten for the second half of season 4 was how easily Cliff gave up his longevity. Like, he was so convinced, you're going to have a better life if you do this. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Jane's like,
that was messed up.
You're an idiot.
I couldn't believe that.
I was like, I appreciate
he was
the fact that
willing to. The thing that I didn't understand, like, was he so convinced that the Parkinson's would get him before he would see his grandson? Or is is that why he made the choice that he did? Or what was going on there? He would rather live in a fantasy.
Yep.
Oh man, I was just like, dude. I was pissed at my TV. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you?
I mean, you got to think his life's not all that great, just being a brain, not being able to feel anything, not being, I enjoy eating. I enjoy drinking things, He doesn't have a lot of that pleasure. I think he really misses it. I think it makes him as cranky as he is at times. And I think even living in a fantasy world, thinking he's feeling it, would be better than what he's got going now. That's how miserable his life is.
But he left his refrigerator open, and he knows he did that.
Hey, while we're admitting stuff, and guys,
Let that last one go.
So you know how we were all wondering who was to blame.
Me, I let him go.
And Isabel, the girl playing Isabel, it's great that they brought her back after she fell into the time vortex or whatever to be Immortus. And they're like, even announcing it. The girl who survived the time vortex is back with us. And only, I don't even know her name, but she's the only one who's kind of catching on. She's like, and I will kill all of you. Oh, I just had a great time hanging out with my heroes and stuff.
And that's what I mean about remembering names. Her name is Michelle Gomez. That's her real name, but I can't remember her. Look it up.
And we even had, like the singing episode, Immortimus Day, Immortimus,
yes,
Immortimus Patrol. Like when they're sitting
everything
around
ends in
that
patrol.
Yes, when they're sitting around that table, and they finally are like, no, we don't want this. This is wrong. We don't want it, except for Cliff, who's like, what are you guys saying? Come on, we want this. We support you, Immortimus. And she was like, okay, fine. You don't want it? Great. And then all of a sudden, everything's kind of back. The illusion's gone and, taunting them that they're doomed. Like she's going to take them out and not let them live because they want to live in her little fantasy. I just thought that Madame Rouge, yes.
It's funny that that was the premise that they decided to go with. That is not to spoil anything, but that game that I'm looking forward to, Persona 3 Reloaded.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially that's the in a nutshell plot of like every Persona game is there is some god or goddess that's like, hey, you know what humans want? They want to live in a fantasy. So I'm going to go ahead and end the world, and I'm going to let them live in a fantasy world where everything is exactly what they want it to be. And like, each one has their own different take on it. Like, I think in the first two games, it was about like rumors that people were spreading about each other. And every time somebody would spread a rumor, it would come true. In the third one, it was, I think it was like blissful ignorance. Like they knew things were bad and people were kind of getting like they wouldn't leave their house and everything. And it was, but people were ignoring it. And then in the fourth one, it was, there were all these murders happening and people were more concerned with trying to figure out like, oh, I wonder what weird thing is happening. Ooh, what famous person is on TV, and they wanted to live in that fantasy of like solving this grand mystery and everything instead of like living out their day to day. And so each one of these has been some like super spirit or god or something that's just like I got you, humans. I know what you really want. You don't want to live in reality. And so it was kind of funny to see that in Doom Patrol. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. I know how this goes.
Well, yeah, the Robot Man definitely does not want to live in reality. And who could blame him?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of hard to blame him with really how crappy his life kind of is. I mean, honestly, if you can live and just be a brain and a body with no feelings or anything, I don't know what I would choose. It's kind of a rough life.
It's in my will that if the technology exists, that's what I want.
I hope it comes to fruition, Doug. I hope that technology is
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. I want it to be as creepy of a robot as possible too. Just like I want them to be like, wow, we've got these really sleek advanced models. Yeah, no, make me a Frankenstein.
I want to be as robotic as possible. I don't want to resemble a human at all.
Right. If you could actually make me out of a metal that rusts, even better. Why would you do that to yourself? On purpose.
Would you rather be a robot man or a sentient AI?
Robot man. I want to continue to be a hindrance to my family.
Yeah.
Shit, did you oil Grandpa? No. Damn it.
Better get in there. You know how loud he gets. I don't even think we have a what's next for this show because it's so goofy.
It is really hard to try and figure out what's going to happen next, because like so many of the things that they've done, I wouldn't have theorized.
Right.
My brain isn't I haven't done enough mushrooms.
No
That's
matter
right.
what you say, Keith, we can't pump the brakes. We can't
No,
reel it
no.
in because you're probably right.
I don't even have a what's next, except that, it's funny because like the climax of the last episode, and not talking about what Brendan Fraser's character was doing, was
Oh, you're wrong for that.
I know, thank you so
Right.
much. But was dinner, like a dinner party, and they're discussing things over it. And that's so out of the norm and so hard to predict what's going on. Obviously Immortus is still out there and they're going to try to stop Immortus in some way, but I have no idea how they're going to go about it. And I think that's what I love about this show. It's so non-conformist with what it does and how it handles things, that the only thing I want is obviously fitting ends for all these characters. And I don't mean like them dying, but when this is all wrapped up, hopefully a little peace of mind, hopefully some positivity or something going forth, only because they've struggled so much with the things Niles has done to them in the name of science, or things you just kind of want. It won't be a happy ending, but a
Fitting.
less fitting. There you go, a fitting ending. Yes.
Well, if we're talking about fitting endings, I have one that you guys won't like. But here's what I would like to see out of it, because I think it would be fitting for Doom Patrol.
Is it Rita becomes a balloon? Because
No.
she did that.
No, I think it's going to they're going to be in the middle of a life or death situation, and all of a sudden you're going to see a guy tapping on his keyboard, and he's going to have his pencil with his drawings next to him. He's going to be like, I just don't know how to end this Doom Patrol comic. Oh well, we'll save it for later, and then it'll get put into a box, and then it'll get put onto a shelf, and then we'll never know. And that's how it'll end. It'll be the author of the most recent Doom Patrol comic never finishing the latest issue.
The Sopranos.
And that would
ending.
be so Doom Patrol.
That would be very Doom Patrol-y. But I don't think that's
would,
going to
yeah.
happen.
I don't either, but it would be fitting for it. I think even DC would be like, no, we got to have a normal ending.
Actually, James Gunn might be like, hey, I kind of like that.
Oh God,
Yeah.
he might.
That's probably why he kept that show around, because that show is just as goofy as he is.
That is him. That is the type of stuff that he's into.
Yeah.
I kind of wouldn't have minded seeing a Doom Patrol that he helped to work on.
I would be all for that. Well, it's funny because with this show, I mean, there's a new Doom Patrol comic that came out. They're doing this whole Dawn of DC, where after this Night Terrors sort of crossover event, they're calling it Dawn of DC, but it's not like a reboot or anything. And Doom Patrol has a new comic.
Oh,
and
that's good.
unfortunately, it's not very Doom Patrol-y. I've only read the first issue, but it didn't feel very Doom Patrol-y to me. It felt more like they're trying to shoehorn them into a standard comic universe. And I was like, well, I guess I didn't want to judge it on one issue, but it was kind of disappointing that that's what we got after, this show was much more vanilla Doom Patrol. And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.